Hey, everybody, welcome to No Vacancy Live, September 22nd, 2021. I'm excited because we have today Heather McCrory, who's the CEO of ACCOR North America and Central America, too. So we're going to get right to it. Don't worry, Anthony's here. He's just backstage. We'll bring him right in.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Anthony McCrory, so great to see you.
What's up, my brother?
How you doing? Listen, I got to tell you, I am feeling good. I am feeling pumped, not just because we have an incredible guest on today's show, but I got to do my first keynote speech since before the pandemic yesterday. It felt so good to be on the stage in that format again, dude.
Yeah, you know what? The minute we had an agreement, I didn't ask you how it went. How'd it go?
It went really great. I mean, I'm very, very happy. I can't say how they thought. Maybe they said, Glenn, you suck. We're never going to have you back. But for me, it was just, it went much better than I expected it to. I thought I'd have to do a lot more hard work to tap into that zone. First time I'm doing this speech, and somehow I pulled it off. So I'm feeling really good about that. But
remember when you were in fourth grade? Remember when you were in fourth grade and they shot spitballs at your head and made fun of you? Did they do that? Did they do that after the speech?
No, I was dodging tomatoes, not spitballs. They're a mature audience up here in Canada, Anthony. All right, before we get started, I just want to encourage everybody. Listen, we're getting back to events. I'm at events, and one of the things that I find is people are getting back to that green policy, right? We want hoteliers to put out that they're green, and customers are looking for that more than ever, particularly meeting planners. And we all know Nolan is saying that group meetings are coming back. At least the smaller meetings in particular are doing great right now, Anthony. And that's why I think waste baskets from Ecotech are a great idea for you. Why? Because they save you money. They're already fully 100% recycled, and you don't have to worry about cleaning them and worrying about all those labor costs. And I'll tell you, Anthony, up here in Canada, they are concerned about those labor costs for sure.
Well, I will tell you something. I realized something the other day when I was using mine, that I empty all my liquids before I put it in the garbage. You know how sometimes you just throw things in the garbage and then you pick up the bag and it spills everywhere?
Yep.
Well, because it's cardboard, I spill out all my liquids and I don't have that problem. So another reason to get it.
I absolutely love it. All right, enough with that. Be sure to go to eco-techwaste.com. Tell them No Vacancy sent you. Get 10% off your order. Okay, Anthony, let's bring in our guest today. Very excited to have with us Ms. Heather McCrory, ACCOR CEO, North and Central America. Heather, so great to see you here.
Well, thank you, Glenn. It's phenomenal to be here. Great to see you in Canada, even more. That's great.
I know. We're keeping it real here, and I'm really super excited because this is the first time you're coming in here onto No Vacancy Live, which now seems like a horrific oversight on my part, Heather. I got to tell you.
Well, I'm here now. That's what.
All right. So let's get this started. For those of you who don't know, ACCOR are you the world's largest hotel company at this point?
No, I think we're the
second?
Fifth, actually. Yeah.
What? No way.
Yeah, some of the Chinese companies have actually grown substantially over the last 3 or 4 years.
All right. So I'm going to say forget the Chinese companies.
Sorry.
Not including the Chinese companies. You're the.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then I think we're actually third in terms of actual number of hotels.
You're killing me, Heather. You're killing me. I don't know anything.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much. So, ACCOR, you guys know them. I don't remember how many years ago, 6, 7 years ago, the company acquired Fairmont. They've also got Delano, Morgan, Sofitel, One Fine Stay, Swiss Hotel, so many different brands, including, is it Ibis or Ibis? I always get that confused.
It depends what part of the world you're in, but I say Ibis.
Okay.
3 different brands under Ibis at that.
That's great. Anthony, you want to jump in?
I was just going to ask, first of all, in the green room, I was going to ask Heather, but I got disconnected. Yep. You look very familiar, Heather. Did you ever fire me?
No. I hope not. Let's put it that way. I don't know if you've worked in Canada or the U.S. at any of the Fairmonts, because I'm a Fairmont way back.
Yes.
So you know Mark Huntley.
I know Mark Huntley very well. He's a great guy.
Mark Huntley, I was the night manager, then became director of front office operations at the Plaza Hotel, where Mark Huntley was food and beverage director.
All right. Yes, and now he's down in D.C., but in the Plaza is George Cazzoni's nowadays. But that's funny. Small world.
Yeah. And you know what? I was early in my career, so I was I was just out of the Air Force, so maybe I was, 25 years old. Right. And what I loved about him, and I'll never forget as long as I live, we call it the Blazoo, because there's a gentleman who is the president, who I won't mention his name, you probably know him, not a nice man. And then we worked for, the hotel was under bankruptcy,
Right.
and it was a lot of stress. And I was young. So I was like, what? Like, I didn't know what was going on. And he was always gentle, and he was always nice and always calm. And there was something like, I always, like, anytime I saw him, I'd literally walk right next to him just to feel better.
Yeah. He's a phenomenal guy that way, because even when things are a storm, things are just going out of control, Mark has ability to pull things back down. He's got tremendous engagement from his colleagues, because he's out there talking to his colleagues all the time. Kind of that connection you're talking about, Anthony. So a phenomenal guy. We're very, very happy.
When you see him, tell him I said hi, and tell him my assistant still thinks my assistant that worked with me at the Algonquin worked with him as his assistant at some time in his career, and she still says he's her favorite. So he's won that race.
Okay, I'll let him know that.
So, Heather, you started in the hospitality industry. I believe you said it was the Fairmont Banff Springs, where I'm going to be headed out to today to go visit. That's pretty amazing. And I don't think people get enough credit for starting at the property level and working their way all the way up to the CEO position. First of all, congratulations. What an amazing accomplishment for you. But let's go back a little bit. What was that like, your first job in hospitality, getting involved in the business? What made you love it so much?
Well, it's interesting, because I was 19 years old back in the day, and I was on a work term of all things for my college. I was in accounting at college, and our work term was to send us out to the Banff Springs. And at that point in time, it was a CP hotel, so it was Canadian Pacific, and I went to the laundry, which to this very day I have no idea what that connection was, but nonetheless, it was so much fun. We had a phenomenal team, and as you can imagine, back in those days, we did Banff and Lake Louise laundry.
Yep.
Morning was Banff, afternoon was Lake Louise, and it was teamwork. It was fun. It was about I didn't really have a lot of interaction initially with the guests, but then as I kind of moved through my career, I never did go back to school, which I don't highly recommend to finish that diploma, but I actually did go back later to do my MBA. But at the time, it was really about every day is different. Every day is a challenge. Every day it's the people that you get to work with. And I just kind of fell in love with the industry and never left. And it's been a great industry that I frankly think, especially right now, we need more and more people to give a try, because I think it's got a little bit of a bad rap with everything that's happened with the pandemic, but it's such a phenomenal, huge opportunity for your career, place to be. And it's fun and it's exciting every single day.
You know, Heather, I'm so glad you said that, especially about the laundry, because I just love that part of the business. And what's interesting, because I've been talking a lot about this. We've been talking a lot about this on the podcast. I talk about it every day, everywhere. I just came out of a meeting. I was talking about it. And what people have to understand is, like you're saying, it gets a bad rap. So it's like, if you say you see like a tunnel, and there's like a really ugly cover on the tunnel. And then all of a sudden you open up the tunnel and there's this ray of sunshine and rainbows. That to me is the industry. It looks like all you do is work weekends and work Christmas and holidays, and you get beat up by customers. But what you don't see is you can work in Hawaii. You can work on, on a cruise ship. You can literally, a friend of mine is going to work in Vegas at the Mansions, at MGM. Like, he's 22 years old. He's 22 years old. He's going to meet billionaires. He's going to meet everybody. It's like, this is not because I'm in the industry. There's no better industry in the world. And like, how do we get the word out, Heather?
I know. Well, and that's a big part of it, right? And I spend a tremendous amount of time talking to students, because even the students who are coming up through school, they think that they want to be in corporate office. They want to do all these different things that are not really related directly to working day in, day out in a hotel. And my advice to every single student is go into the hotels, learn the business, understand what that's like. Eventually you can get to the corporate office, that's fine. But understanding the basics of the business and that day in, day out interaction with customers, which there are the times where it's, okay, there's some conflict on occasion. Although if you're natural for this industry, I think you can actually get through those and feel accomplishment. But generally, every single day, you're meeting people, you're turning moments into memories for people. It is such a phenomenal opportunity, and the world is your oyster. To your point, you can work in Vegas, you can work in China, you can work in Europe, you can work wherever you want. And these big companies have so many opportunities if you choose to take advantage of it. And and also the other piece is that we'll train everybody. We'll train people. We'll give them secondary education. We'll do whatever we need to do to give them the skill set that they need to move up through the organization.
Listen, everything in my life I have because of the hotel business. The other day somebody said, "Have you ever been to Chile?" And I go, "I don't know." And they go, "What do you mean you don't know?" I said, "I'm not sure." And I looked at my list. I was like, "Oh yeah, I was there." It's like that's what I've traveled so much because of this industry that I didn't know I went to a country.
That's really funny.
It's such an amazing, and it's really becoming my passion every day that I almost feel like people are passing a golden ticket every single time they say no to the industry. It's like you don't know what you're doing. Like you really don't know what you're giving up.
That's right. I totally agree with you. And I think it is, we need to get the word out and have more people go into that industry and through the schools or even directly into it. But it's a challenge for us right now. There's no doubt about it. And I think it's something that I know for ACCOR specifically in the US in particular, we are working on every single day to put out the message that it is an opportunity. You can go from the laundry to the CEO.
Right. Look at you. Right. Absolutely. So Michael Weinberg is asking, is Canada experiencing the same worker flight from hospitality like the United States is? Yes, unfortunately. Here in Alberta in particular, I'm finding, Heather, it's seriously severe type of issue. So the question I have for you is, recruitment and retention is becoming so much more important than it ever has. So how are you focused on that? And how are you keeping people feeling connected and wanted within the ACCOR system?
And I'm so glad you talked about that, because everybody's talking about recruitment when all of the people who are actually here today are my most important people. Hardest is what we call them at ACCOR. And those are the people I need to make sure that they are very, very happy, that they're engaged in what they're doing. And you all know this, especially you two. People are working harder, I swear, than they've ever worked before. They're trying to cover 2 jobs. They're trying to make sure that the guest is happy, those who are actually coming to the hotel. And so it's a bit of a stressful time on top of everything else. Never mind the worries of the pandemic and that impact that could have on your personal life. So to me, what you really need to do is, and something we're spending a tremendous amount of time on, is communicating. And so I keep talking about this communication, but it's the most important thing. And I think being authentic and being vulnerable and explaining to people where you are and what we're all thinking in terms of the leadership and bringing people along with you it seems like a simple thing, but it's such an important part of retention, that you're clear with people and real with people and understanding what's happening right now, and that we are in the other piece of that only goes so far, because if you don't have a plan, if you don't have something that they can look at down that tunnel that's actually not a train coming at them, then they also have a feeling of comfort that it is actually going to end. And so the idea of recruitment is also incredibly important. But we are looking at training for in terms of education, in terms of, and unfortunately, but realistically, we also have to look at what does compensation look like and how does that fit into all of these things. So all of these pieces are coming together. We're even looking at hiring, and we have always had a recruitment division, but what we haven't had is a vice president responsible for it. And we're definitely looking at an area that we have to spend more on, because it's so important, and particularly in the short term.
Well, you said 2 things that I find fascinating, and the most important thing you said was vulnerability, right? Transparency, authenticity, vulnerability. Those are words that leaders forget about. And think about this, right? You got on. I don't think we've met before, and I mentioned the person's name. Okay, Mark Huntley. I literally spent 10 seconds of my career with Mark Huntley. I didn't report to him. I would literally look for him to stand next to him to feel better, because I was so insecure and he seemed to have it all together. That is what you just said. You have to take care of your people. I will, if I didn't go on to my career and I was looking for working in food and beverage or as a manager or whatever, I would literally go wherever he told me to go. That is the difference. I'll give you a quick example. I never complain in hotels. I just stayed at a beautiful hotel I've always wanted to stay at. I never, ever complain, because sometimes people see my name and somebody can get fired. There's a wait sometimes because they're, he's Anthony, the TV guy. And all of a sudden I get somebody in trouble. So I never complain. So I said to the young lady this morning, I said, I just took a shower, and the shower curtain was the most disgusting shower curtain. It was full of mold. You know what she said to me? And I wasn't mad. I just wanted her to fix it for the next guest. You know what she said to me? She said, okay.
Wow.
She said, okay. She said, okay. The reason I bring that up is because we are needing to, people are keeping people like that you can tell she was a hotel person. She just got hired. You can tell that she doesn't have that spirit, but we got to keep those people because right now we just need people to check people and check people out. But if you would take care of people, you wouldn't have good people leaving.
Yeah. Frankly, for me, that is actually the most important part. And so where I spend a lot of time, in fact, we have our top 600 leaders across North America, and every 6 weeks we talk to them. And unfortunately, and I really hate the fact that we have to do it this way these days, but you're doing it via Zoom or via whatever platform. But just talking to them and being authentic with them and explaining what makes me nervous and what makes me worried, but that there is a plan, that we all are on the same boat together. And this pandemic is actually, I wish we all had a crystal ball that could tell what's going to happen. I feel sometimes like it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
You are correct.
But letting people know that it's okay to have that feeling and that we're in it together, and it's like, we're going to get through this. And to me, that is very simple, but incredibly powerful.
Right. And that's really important way to look at it, that engagement and stuff. But Heather, I know that you're not just thinking about that on one side. You're also thinking about the other side of the coin, operational efficiencies, so you can wean yourself off of the total number of full-time employees that you have at properties. What are some of the things that you're thinking about and doing to increase efficiencies for your hotels and your franchisee audience out there?
Right. So the thing with North America, which is a little bit different than the rest of ACCOR in terms of mix, majority of my hotels in this region and majority of our revenues are all in the luxury sector.
Right.
And so because of that, so we're certainly looking in terms of the Novotels and that sort of thing, in terms of housekeeping and all the things that everybody's talking about. And so in terms of how can you make that more efficient, and frankly, also part of sustainability. And I would lean heavier on the sustainability than the cost savings, although that's a nice outcome of it. But sustainability plays a heavy role in that piece.
Right.
But on the luxury side of the equation, we are looking at doing things because of COVID, so many things have been taken out of the guest room. You don't want the contact, you don't have the mini bar, the coffee, all those sort of things. But we actually believe that you need to put all that back in. Good. And the reason behind that is value. And so you can't charge, and I grew up my career in sales and marketing after laundry, but spent a tremendous amount of 25 years in sales and marketing. And that customer value proposition, we've stretched it. And we have to put that back in play. And so that's what we're looking at right now, is making sure. And what else can you do on top of it? Because today's traveler, and I am the exact same myself, people aren't looking to add things to their list like they were before. They're actually looking for experiences. And they want something that's authentic. Using that word, but I think it's quite true for the traveler as well. But they want the convenience, they want the comfort and the realization that the things are safe. And so all of those safe, we call it all safe, as part of kind of a play off of our loyalty program. But that has to be in place, and we also follow the HNLA, so it's commonality across all of the North America. But after that, to me, it's about adding back in. It's about adding everything back in that we had taken out and providing the level of service that, because we don't have the people, we haven't necessarily been able to do to the same degree, and moving that bar forward again as well.
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking about adding things like new technologies to make people's jobs quicker or speedier, or remove the human element from back of house things. Thinking about workflow optimization software. Are you considering those types of things as well?
Yeah, so we've done a lot of those things already. So in terms of putting those in place, so we put in probably, I was going to say maybe 6 or 7 years ago, we went Unifocus and put in a significant labor management system in terms of helping with scheduling and all of those different pieces. We also, a long time ago, put in Rex, which is a system that helps interact with the guests through their cell phone. And also in terms of, so those are pieces of the puzzle that we have had in for quite some time. And they're really, frankly, adoption might not have been so great before. It's really strong now. And so the other piece that we're also looking at, and we're doing 2 of the tests here in North America, are obviously the whole keyless side of the equation. So how do you get someone into the hotel and into the room without having to interact with anybody? But it's really touchy, because For sure, in my eco mid-scale hotels, that makes a tremendous amount of sense. On the luxury side, they're not necessarily looking to do that. So you have to figure out what that connection is. So we're working through all of those pieces, but without a doubt, those technology pieces are in play and much higher adoption than they used to be.
That's amazing that you were so ahead of the curve there. Anthony, what do you got to say?
No, you said something I want to go back to that is so critically important, and I'm seeing it across brands, and they're not addressing it. You're stretching the value proposition. And I'm going to give you a very good example of that. Now, again, not a complainer. I'm pretty easy to deal with when I'm in the hotel. And the thing about the shower curtain pissed me off when she said, okay, but something upset me even more when I checked in last night. I checked in, I'm paying a really good rate for a regular room, and there's a $25 resort fee, which I was one of the first people implemented when I was at Nickelodeon. So, you know, I deserve that. Okay. So I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining about it. Okay. Then it's Florida, so no one's wearing masks, and except me and like 5 other people. And she said to me, I don't want anybody in my room. I don't ask for housekeeping. So I put my do not disturb. But she said, the young lady at the front desk said, didn't say anything about the resort fee, didn't say, and what she said was, there are no housekeeping. There's no housekeeping. That's what she said. There's no housekeeping. No one's going to clean your room until it's checked out. I'm paying exactly what I normally pay in a hotel like that. I'm getting a $25 resort fee. You're not giving me housekeeping. And the reason you're not giving me housekeeping because most brands are saying because of health and safety, but everybody's walking away around without a mask on. So that's a bunch of crap. So all she had to do was explain to me that, just so you understand, there will not be, or ask me, do you need housekeeping services? No, I don't. And then she said, well, do you need them? Well, we don't have them right now. However, we can have towels, or if you do want your waste paper bag. There was a way to say that, but you just said something so fascinating that no one is paying attention to. We have stretched the value proposition, and we're pretending we haven't.
Right. And we have to acknowledge it, right? I mean, that's the reality of the situation. And I actually believe our owners understand that, as well as our guests understand it. And people are patient for a period of time, but it doesn't last forever. And so the question is, when does it come back, and how quickly do you put it back in place? And that has to be carefully managed for all the reasons we all understand. But you can't push that envelope forever. And I totally agree with what you're talking about, Anthony, is training. And so how she could have said that, how she could have positioned that so much different, that you would have walked away with a completely different feeling. And I'm not knocking whatever hotel you're at, because I'm sure you could walk into one of mine and the same thing might happen. So that's not my intent. But it really is about, how are we preparing these people in a very different environment in order to interact with the guest, to make that experience still very, very positive, even though there may be limitations. And so
I think people like you are critically important to this industry, because you have a career. You have built a really nice lifestyle and life for yourself because you saw this as a career. People are seeing this, that my boss wants me to work on Friday. That's how they're seeing it. It's like, dude, change your mindset.
Yes.
Where do you want to be 5 years from now? Do you want a career? I mean, if we go back to our careers early on when we were 20 years old, we could probably sue people for how we were treated. I felt like I was beat every day when I went into to work. But I was like, can I have another one? Come on, let's go. You want me to work 18 hours a day? 7? Like, I know one day I'm going to be running these hotels. So I saw it very early on. You pay me $3 an hour, and you make me work 18 hours with no overtime. But guess what? The trick's on you, because now, when I was 29 years old, I was one of the highest paid general managers in New York City.
Right. Well, and I think you brought up a phenomenal point, because we have what we call in our organization hypos. And so they're the people who have been identified, and not that the rest of them aren't, but these are people who are clearly interested in that path. And so they always say to me, what is it I need to do, Heather? What job should I take next? What should I do? And I say the same thing to them every time. And it's kind of what you're saying, Anthony. It's like, don't think about it as your next job. Think about building your resume. What are you trying to do? And so the chances are you're going to have to spend 2 years everywhere, because that's kind of the industry norm. But have you worked in a union hotel? Have you worked in a non-union? Have you worked in a resort? Have you worked in a city center, small hotel, boutique hotel, lifestyle hotel? Build your resume so that you are going to be a phenomenal candidate. And when you're up against somebody 2 years from now, 4 years from now, 10 years from now, your resume is going to be phenomenal because you have this great grounding of experience. And don't worry about titles and so much about salary. Think about what you're building in terms of your career. And I believe, and I've seen it over and over again, that is what's going to propel your career forward. So
yeah, and in this industry, you've heard the saying, everybody uses it, don't burn a bridge. In this industry, like I haven't worked with Mark Huntley in 30 years.
Right.
Okay. I said something like, I literally love the man. I haven't seen him in 30 years. I don't even know if I know what he looks like anymore. But his reputation, no matter who you speak to, they have the same thing to say about the man. Like you said, he's unbelievable. He's patient or whatever. Don't burn a bridge. And God knows I almost burned a couple of them.
Yes, you and me both. But it is incredibly important. This industry, what goes around comes around. And you just have to understand that. And no matter, but I think that's any industry. And I think that at some point in your career, particularly as you're getting older, you begin to realize that the long term is so much more important than short term. But when you're younger, it's hard to remember that.
I interviewed a guy named Jeff Toscani for assistant general manager of a hotel. I never hired him because I moved on. And then like 6 years later, I walk in for a general manager job, and the vice president of the company is Jeff Toscani.
Yeah, exactly. You never know.
So Heather, we got a question from Marissa Goodpasser over here, and she's saying, what you're talking about, is that more of a soft skill you can't necessarily teach or train someone, more of a common sense personality trait? And we always hear, Heather, you hire personality you could train later, but we're in this weird time where that's not necessarily what's going to happen.
Yeah, so it's a great question, because there's a lot of schools of thought that you can't train it. I personally believe that you can. And the reason I think that is because, and I'm a big believer in making people comfortable in training. And so a lot of people do not like having to do role plays, right?
Right.
And so role plays, I swear by them. That's how you train people, because if you can get someone comfortable talking through it and understanding and really thinking about what you're talking about, this can't be done on through Zoom or anything like that. But I do think you can train them. Now, if they have zero of those skills, if they lack empathy, if they lack patience, which frankly I'm not sure how we ended up hiring them, then probably it's going to be more difficult. But generally, people want to do good. People want to help people. I think that's innate in human nature. And so if you can pull that out and actually make them comfortable in how to do it, yes, I think you can.
And there's always been a problem where when we do hire the wrong people, we keep them too long. But now it's like we keep them too long on purpose because there's nobody replacing them, right? So, but the tool that I find the most helpful, especially with young managers, young supervisors, is remember when you were a kid in kindergarten and we would play telephone, right? Yes. And we would whisper in somebody's ear. I do that I do that sometimes keynotes, I do that in speeches, I do that in training, whereas I take 2 sentences and I have people go down the line. It usually comes out 1 word or 2 words, right? And why I do that is not to embarrass people, is because when you're running a hotel as a general manager or supervisor, whatever you're doing, the time the guest in 1017 wants towels, sometimes it comes out the guest in 1216 wants an elephant. Right. So if you don't understand that communication gets lost, you got to train communication. Like you said, your words were communication, communication, communication.
Yes, it's incredibly important, and particularly in our industry, because the details matter, right? And the details are what usually gets lost. And so how do you make sure that those details are delivered on? Right. Exactly how the guest is looking for it.
Right. So I want to move the conversation forward to talk a little bit about where you are today with your properties, where you're going in the future. But I think before we do that, we need to quickly look at the past. You mentioned Canadian Pacific. What I love about the Fairmonts is, most people are familiar with the birth of the railroads in the United States, connecting the East and the West. The same thing happened up in Canada, but with something incredibly more beautiful. These amazing Grand Dam hotels that are spread throughout the entire country. This is the Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel that you started at. One of the most incredible properties that I've ever seen. It must be amazing to be in charge of a portfolio of such beautiful products and then thinking about how you're going to add more to them. So how do you add new properties that are going to be as astounding as some of these Grand Am hotels and all of that?
Right. And so I think, first of all, they are spectacular hotels. The old railway hotels at CN and CP hotels are just outstanding, and they're iconic in nature. And there are quite a few actually in the U.S. as well that are related to railways, but not necessarily in our portfolio.
And we don't associate them the same way I think that the Canadian culture associates the hotels.
100%. And so there's a definitely with the Fairmont brand, because the majority of those hotels were built long over 100 years ago, right? And so in the last, I would call it 20 years, all of the new product has been spectacular, and it looks, we really believe for the Fairmont properties in particular, in being authentically local to the destination, that they have to have unrivaled presence, and and then the service level is consistent across the brand as a whole. And so with that in mind, it's actually quite easy to add properties across the board. And so we're constantly, in fact, on Monday, which is very, very exciting, in LA, the Century Plaza is our newest Fairmont that's going to open.
My God, Heather, it looks amazing. First of all, the amount of money that was put into that is phenomenal. That property years ago needed a little love. And I believe what you did is you made it half the amount of rooms and double the size of a lot of the rooms. Is that true?
Yeah, it's a little bit of that.
Hotel? I missed the hotel. So the audience may have missed it.
Century Plaza in LA.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and so that opens on Monday. A tremendous renovation. Ownership did an outstanding job. Frankly, it is probably one of the best openings from a Fairmont we've had in a very long time. It's just a spectacular hotel. Austin also just opened not long ago. It was also another phenomenal hotel. But the real point of the matter is that you can take these big box hotels, generally speaking on the Fairmont side, they're group oriented hotels, because luxury group is kind of what Fairmont's known for. And as long as it has a group space, we're in a good place. But you'll see, and I can't talk about them right now, but with Fairmont growing more and more, and we'll hopefully over the course of the next 90 days, I'll actually be able to announce a few of them. But we also are finding, which I think from an ACCOR perspective is outstanding. We've got so many brands. We have 42 brands globally.
Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to name them all.
Good.
But I do want to know which brands you're seeing the most interest in. What are people most excited about here in North America?
Yeah, and it's a much narrow bandwidth, right? Because what makes sense in North America doesn't necessarily make sense globally. Right. And so here, M Gallery, which is one of our, I'll call it an upper upscale soft brand. And so it would compete with Autograph and that side of the equation, or Curio. And so that is a brand that we have not done a tremendous amount with. We just actually over the course of the last 2 years started opening up M galleries, and we're getting phenomenal traction on those as a soft brand. We're also, and I can't say the name of it, but we're looking at very, very soon going to launch a luxury soft brand that we will be going out with as well, which I think is overdue, and we're looking very forward to having that. But the other brands that are really growing quite well in Mexico is Novotel is growing exceptionally well. I'm really looking forward to, and I spent a tremendous amount of time with our Raffles Boston ownership group, that will open actually next year, and it'll be phenomenal as well.
That's a very, very high-end luxury property for folks that aren't familiar with the brand.
Yes, Raffles is the first time in North America that we're actually opening a Raffles, and it's going to be an outstanding hotel. I can't wait for that one to be, and I'm very close to it because I spent a lot of time with the ownership on getting through all the different pieces on the development side and build out. The other one that we're opening that's going to be amazing is the Sofitel Legend in Panama, and that will open first quarter next year, which is it's an older building. It's in the old city. If you ever get down to that neck of the woods in Panama, it is going to be, I've been there 3 times. It's outstanding property right on the water. And so lots of those type of brands. We also do have quite a few ibises in.
Heather, that was my next question. There's one at LaGuardia Airport that's been there, I think, for about 2 years or so now.
There was.
First one I ever saw. In that area. So it sounds to me that you've got great opportunity with that particular type of brand, which is more of an economy brand, correct?
Definitely is an economy brand. And we're growing that the most because that's a very, very, very crowded space in the US, as you know. And so the majority where we spend our time and effort on building that out is Ibis Styles, Ibis and Ibis budget, and that is in Mexico. And so we have almost 30 of those down there, and we're continuing to grow those. And also Novotels is what we're continuing to grow down there, which is the mid-scale. And so one just opened. We've got 2 more opening next year, and then there's 3 more in the pipeline. So very, very popular on the Novotel side of the equation. But galleries.
So Heather, you've come a long way from the lunch room. It's like any young person listening to what you just said in the last 60 seconds don't understand that this is the greatest career in the world. Like, you work hard. You have to be really intelligent to do what you're doing. There's a lot of personalities. There's a lot of complications, from building to developing to marketing to staffing. It is so friggin' complicated what you do. However, it sounds like, as you were talking, you just got into the business yesterday because you sound so passionate about it.
And I'm very passionate about our business. You know what? And for all of those people out there who are thinking about our industry, it is, and it's kind of what you were saying earlier, Anthony, it is phenomenal in that every day is different. It's tremendously challenging. You can learn so much in terms of opportunity that's actually transferable as well. And you work with phenomenal people. Like, I can't, like, some of my best friends are from way back in Banff, and we still are all together as a big group of people when we can get together. It is like both life and business. It's an incredible industry.
It's like the military. Once you're in the military, and I don't care if you're in the Army, Navy, or Marines, once you see somebody else in the military, there's a certain thing that just you can't explain. And same thing in the hotel business. When somebody is literally, especially coming out of the laundry room, knowing that you came out of the laundry room, there's something that, like, people, unless you've been there and started at that level and then worked your way up, like, there's just, like, you can't explain it.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's very difficult to, hopefully you can see it through the passion and through that love of the industry, but it is, unless you actually try it, I don't actually think that you really understand what I'm talking about or you're talking about. But it's, even if stewarding, laundry, housekeeping, this is the heart and soul of our company, right? And all the hospitality companies. And it's hard work. In fact, I think some of those roles are actually the unsung heroes of our industry because they have hard jobs.
And I'm sorry.
Yeah, you go ahead.
No, I was just saying, in this hotel I was in, the cleaning people were using, the cleaning team. They all had these yellow shirts on, or whatever color they were, and they're walking through. And they were not trained to look people in the eye and say good morning and hello. They feel like, oh, I'm just cleaning and I'm not important. So they're walking around like they're not important. And I walked past every single one of them this morning at 5:30 this morning. There was this gentleman that walked right past me, and I went right up to him and said, good morning, how are you? Thanks. I walked away, and he looked at me like, what was that? It's like, we need to train people to understand those people are the most important people, that they're trying to keep us safe.
Exactly. They're trying to keep us safe. And even before the pandemic, these are the people, they're outstanding, and they're great people. Again, I don't know, for being a general manager side of the equation, going down into the staff cafeteria, sitting down and having lunch with your housekeepers, it is a great experience. These are phenomenal people, and with phenomenal home lives and children and cooking and all the different things that they do. And that's the part of the industry that's so great, is that you get to meet all of this different walks of life, and everybody's a big family. So I say that quite sincerely, because I think it's, people don't understand that. But for me, the housekeepers, they're the first ones who should be saying hello to you in the hallway. And I really do feel like at ACCOR, that's what we have, because these are great people who are salt of the earth and hardworking and extremely oriented towards service.
Right. So, Heather, that's really great. But, the last thing I really want to talk with you about today is about how you're going to be driving that top line revenue in the future, and how much does your relatively recently introduced lifestyle loyalty program, ACCOR Live Limitless, really play into that?
Right. Okay. Well, thank you. So, I should say, by the way, because I was talking all about the hotels that I'm responsible in terms of our growth, because our lifestyle division is actually off the charts in terms of growth. That we're in a great place on that front, and North America is one of the places that our lifestyle brands are actually growing. But part of that is what you were referencing, which is the ACCOR Live Limitless, our loyalty program. And so we're listen, in North America, I will always be a little bit of the underdog compared to the Marriotts and the Hyatts and the because of the number of product they have compared to what I have. However, we were just voted as the #1 loyalty program in North America, which is phenomenal. I'm very, very excited about that because we just introduced it 2 years ago. And really, it was unfortunate timing. It was just rolled out as COVID began to hit. And so we've converted all of our the past Fairmont people onto the loyalty program, and it's continuing to grow, and we've got very good contribution rates and all those sort of things. But it is a lifestyle program, so it is not just about staying at the hotel and earning your points. You could actually just come into the hotel and earn points if you had a meal at it. You can actually, it's about having special situations where you could have tickets to a concert, and we can organize that for you in terms of incredible experiences.
Right.
So it's really much broader than just hotel points that you get when you stay at the hotel, which all the programs are doing. But I think it really is unique in that it's so lifestyle driven as opposed to, I'll call it hotel driven.
Right. That's a fascinating differentiation that I don't think people really get, because that way you're removing it. It's not just about the points and maybe getting like a free bottle of water. It's about how you are helping me live my life more efficiently and better.
Exactly what it is. And so that is something that we're going to spend more and more time on. We've got, obviously, the big PSG is the partnership that we have there, and we've just rolled out a new credit card partnership in Europe.
Right.
Because of the pandemic, we haven't brought so much of that over here, but you'll be hearing more and more about it from us on that particular front in North America. So it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to the program. I think we have a phenomenal program. I think it's something that has tremendous legs, and we are going to be able to make that grow faster and faster.
Excellent. Anthony, any final questions? I got one more before we let her go. And you are muted, sir. I bet it's a great question, but we can't hear you.
I have 2 questions, actually.
All right.
One, because you deal with mostly luxury properties, and you were talking about really getting to know your guest and doing more than just giving them a hotel room. What do you think of the concierge in the next couple of years? Where is that going? Where is the concierge going? Because there's a lot of different brands kind of moving on from that. So I want to know what your thoughts on the concierge, and also number 2, most importantly, do you ever sleep?
Yeah, that's what my husband asked me. But actually, at the end of so on concierge, it's an interesting question. I believe in the luxury space, particularly within all the studies that you're reading today. When you're talking to customers, they're looking for someone to help them more so than ever before. And so everybody knows at the front end of the booking, they're much more, agencies are being and used way more than they've ever, like Virtuoso and all these different things. They're so busy because people are looking for someone to trust who can help them make the reservation. I think the exact same thing is going to happen at the property level. They're looking for someone to help them that they can trust, that tells them where to go for dinner, that tells them what activity to go on to. So I actually think it might even get more important as time goes on, because people are looking for someone who can help them locally. So from that perspective, now, does every hotel need a concierge? What hours do they work in all of those different pieces for all the owners out there going, but I actually do believe the guest is definitely looking for that comfort, is what I would call it, because they're a little nervous right now.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
So, but to wrap up, so Heather, you've achieved so much. So, as a female leader for our incredible industry here, what type of legacy do you want to leave as your mark?
Right. So, I've allowed I'll have 2 that I would like to have. So one, and this is something that I strongly believe in, and I think it's really important for all women, is leaving the legacy that helping women get ahead. And when I say that, I'm not looking to actually give anybody a step up. I'm looking to provide them with whatever it is that's missing in that ingredient, so that more women look to achieve those different positions. And that, frankly, comes all sorts of things. It could be about children. It could be about benefits. It could be about style. It could be anything. But so whatever that requires, I would like to have a legacy of having helped women. Having said that, I get very nervous when I say things like that, although I do believe it's been 50 years of men getting ahead, so I don't have a problem with women getting ahead now. But I also believe so strongly in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so to me, equity and inclusion is everybody. And I'm a very, very, very big proponent of that. I think it's something that I really do believe that at the board table, at the meeting room table, at the dinner table, whatever it is, you need representation. And to make better decisions as an organization, I need representation from every different group within my customer base and within my colleague base. And those two pieces are what I would like to be known for as in terms of a legacy, that we brought that forward and made it real and not a program. This is how we run our business. This is how we think about things and move it forward.
That's beautiful. What I have one last question, and you can see it in your heart that you really believe that. What's the question you get most from young women? What's their biggest concern typically?
I think the biggest question I get is, and frankly, it's a hard one to explain, but how did you do it? Like, how did you make the transition? And and you probably, now that this is our first time we've spent some time together, I'm a kind of person that is hard work, be authentic, be yourself, you'll get ahead. And you obviously have to have talent, so I'm not discounting that in any way, shape, or form. But it's often the advice I give people: nothing comes on a silver platter. You have to work for it. And so it's something, and time, you know what, I also believe timing, life is timing. And so that also helps your path in terms of you got to be at the right place at the right time. And sometimes you are and sometimes you aren't.
And you have to recognize that you're at the right place at the right time too.
Correct. And then you have to take the leap, right? And you have to take a risk. And I remember when I don't know how we're doing for time, but when I remember when I left my very comfortable role of the vice president, I was responsible for revenue management, global sales, and hotel sales. Very, very comfortable in that. I've been doing that in my career for 20 years, and took a complete leap and decided to be a regional vice president. Well, I didn't decide actually at the time, but it was a opportunity to be a regional vice president and go back into hotel operations again. Well, I was like all for it. It's like I just finished my MBA, but I could have very easily continued doing what I was doing. But that taking a risk, taking a chance, taking that, going across the street, which at the time it was what it was actually, and becoming a regional vice president, and you learn so many things. That's actually the other piece. So you don't know everything, right? You clearly do not know everything. That's the first thing everybody should realize. But the people around you have tremendous talent. And so that pulling that in and utilizing people and relying on people and really, frankly, being a true leader and pulling all the different pieces of the puzzle together are things you learn every time you take risk. And you just have to work hard and take risk and be confident, I think, at the end of the day.
Beautiful. Heather, thank you so much for being here. You're an incredible professional and human being. I have enjoyed this conversation so much. You never know what you're going to get when you haven't spoken to somebody before. It was absolutely delightful. And Anthony, I bet you feel the same way.
You're a true leader. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
So much, Heather. We appreciate you. And let's do a shameless plug. I will see you next week at the lodging conference.
Oh, you will.
I have the distinct honor of hosting the general session on Wednesday, of which you are going to be a part of. I can't wait to be with you on stage next week. Thank you.
Exactly. Okay. Thanks very much, guys. Appreciate it. Okay. Bye.
All right, Anthony. Let's wrap this up. But I know you've got a final thought and observation on this conversation.
You know me too. You know me too well.
Yes.
Listen, we've had a lot of great guests on this, and I've said some great things about some great people. And then I'll just say this: she should just drop the mic and walk out. She's just like you can't touch that. You can't, she has got the intelligence, the sensibility, the motivation. She's just got it all wrapped up in one human being. And you can see that she's sat in meetings with people that don't see the way she sees it. And somehow, through her passion and her being articulate and being intelligent, basically slayed those people in the room. You can just see it.
I know. That's why I love this business. It is so much fun. I love meeting people like this and learning in ways that we haven't had before. Yeah. All right, everybody, I want to thank you all for being here. I've got to go. I've got a long drive over to that Fairmont Springs. I'm going to go down one of the most incredible highways in the world, Anthony, with all sorts of glaciers and mountains all around me. I can't.
Which highway? Which highway? I want to know if I've been on it.
It's called the Ice Highway Road or something like that. Hold on one second. Heather's still backstage. Let me ask her. What's the name of that highway that I'm going on?
I believe it's Highway 1 you're going down, right?
I'm going to take 16 to 93.
And down to Highway 1.
That's right. Yes. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, everybody. Listen, I know that you love watching our show, but you want to listen to it too. So make sure you find our podcast, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever you listen to your shows. Well, we are there. And if you want to reach out to us personally, he, of course, is Anthony Hotels. I am at Traveling Glenn. Any final thoughts, Anthony?
Be safe.
Icefields Parkway. That's it. All right, everybody. Have one life. So blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
see you all tomorrow.